Hello, my name is Paula Mans. I am a painter, collagist, and art educator based here in Washington, D.C. I am also self-taught, so all of these works here are really the culmination of experimentation with different kinds of materials and also really expanding collage to really incorporate three-dimensional materials. As an artist, I gravitate towards collage as a tool to really explore identity formation. I think that finding images, deconstructing and reconstructing images really speaks to the layering of our own identities as human beings. Quite specifically, I use that to explore identity formation within the African diaspora. For me, collage and that process of taking disparate parts and joining them together to create one singular form is really emblematic of the ways in which enslaved Africans were able to create new cultures and identities in the Americas. Within the bellies of slave ships during the transatlantic crossing, enslaved Africans from all over the continent were forced into the bellies of these ships, despite not being able to communicate in the same language, having the same spiritual practices, or even cultural practices. Yet they were able to take these fragments of their identities and meld them together to create a new identity and culture in the New World. And it was through this process of identity formation that they were able to not only just survive in the New World, but thrive and create a cultural tour de force that the Black cultural landscape is today globally. Collage is typically a two-dimensional medium. It's typically paper and images projected onto paper. But I like to really play with collage and play with layering collage so that it kind of incorporates more sculptural elements. So layering paper to really emphasize jaw lines, to really emphasize gazes. So then that way the figures really project off of a flat surface and directly engage with the viewer. My current exhibition, entitled Cotton Flower, really examines cotton as a tool and a symbol of power for enslaved women and their gendered resistance against the system of slavery. Within the American imaginary, cotton is typically viewed as a physical manifestation of pain, of suffering, of labor within the chattel slave system. But this exhibition really highlights the ways in which enslaved women used, with their wisdom and ingenuity, they used plants to render healing upon their bodies and also to disrupt gendered and racialized systems against them. On cotton plantations in particular, some enslaved women took cotton plants and ingested the barks and the root to be able to regulate their menstrual cycles, to induce abortions, and ultimately reclaim selfhood and assert their bodily autonomy within the context of a system that really dehumanized and degraded them. I think that it's very important that we render these figures with faces, because often history, because of historical erasure, many of these ancestors and these female figures are rendered faceless and identityless. So by using portraiture and using collage, a multiplicity of forms and figures and faces to represent one figure or multiple figures, I'm really calling to attention the fact that we are one with these ancestors, that we are the direct inheritors of this legacy of resistance, and that we should really look to the past and look to the history and their contributions as a blueprint of how we move forward and how we continue to fight against oppressive systems today. As an educator, I often approach my practice from a pedagogical lens. I create works that, of course, I would hope that they inspire the viewer, but ultimately I want them to inform and educate the viewer. I think that these narratives are but one of many that are obscured by the canon of history, and that I would hope that this exhibition would encourage the viewer to seek information on their own, to really dig through the history of their own ancestors and find the myriad of ways that they resisted. I think that it's particularly important in this current political climate that we're living in, where books are being banned, where social justice initiatives are being thwarted, where civil rights that our ancestors fought so ardently for are being rescinded. I think now more than ever, we really should look to our ancestors and the myriad of ways that they resisted to really serve as a blueprint, an inspiration, and a legacy for the ways that we can continue to live in their honor today. my plan is to continue to push the work. I think really continue to explore the three-dimensionality of the work and enhance it. I would really enjoy stretching out into assemblage and perhaps even found sculpture. That is something that I would like to do. I really want to decrease the space between the viewer and the figures that I create. And I think that by enhancing that sculptural element, I can achieve that.